Alright guys, so we're gonna do a quick talk on the stock splits and reverse splits so everybody gets an understanding of what exactly it is and how it affects the stock. Alright, so a stock split is when a company divides the existing shares of a stock into multiple new shares to boost the stock's liquidity. Although the number of shares of outstanding increases by a specific multiple, the total dollar value of the shares remains the same compared to the pre-split amount because the split does not add any real value. The most common split ratios are 2-for-1, 3-for-1. Okay, so basically what that means is that the stock is going to split, in this example, is a 2-to-1. The number of shares increases by twice the amount. So in this scenario, there's a number of shares of 40. A stock split of 2-to-1 makes the number of shares 80. But the total value of the 40 is the same as the total value of the 80, right? Just each one of the shares in the 80 is half the amount of the share in the 40. Okay? But the end effect that it has on the stock is dilution. Okay, so basically, you can think of it as something like in a recipe. You're adding more water, so you're diluting the concentration of that particular item. It's the same thing in the stock. If you're adding more shares, you're diluting the number of shares, causing a lesser value per share. Okay, but the biggest thing to think about with a split and a reverse split, the amounts, the total value doesn't change. It's just how the value is calculated by the number of shares is what changes. If you take the reverse of that, which is a reverse stock split, what you're doing now is instead of making more shares, you're taking out shares to create more value per share. Okay, so you're now concentrating the amount of shares. Like in a recipe, it'd be like a reduction, right? You're removing the extra water to concentrate the flavors of that particular item. So in this case here, a reverse stock split of 1-to-2, it would be like the reverse of the previous example. You started off with 80 shares, and a reverse stock split of 1-to-2, that means for every 2 shares, now there's only 1. Okay, but the value is still the same. So an example would be if you had 80 shares and they were $100 each, okay, so that means you would have $8,000, right? Well, if you reduced it down to 1-to-2, you would have 40 shares, but each share would be $200 each, still equaling out to $8,000. So you're not gaining or losing anything through the split, but its optics of what it does in the future, it changes, right? So so typically, like if you do a dilution, like a stock split, the cost would be lower, and the you know typically the price tends to fall when a stock split occurs. So you can look at any share or any company stock that has done that, and you'll see that it tends to fall. So that's kind of the effect. You've seen in Tesla when Tesla did its stock split um, from I think 2400 to 400. And then from there, the 400 it fell for a little while, but in the end, it will get back to its price because those as a company grows, the number of shares need to grow with it for investors to be able to purchase. Okay, that's like somewhat like a nano dimension. You know, they did those direct offerings. That means they're offering more shares. It wasn't a stock split, but they're offering more shares. But in the end, you know, those shares are required in order for more investors to be able to purchase stocks and provide value to the company. Okay, so that's pretty much the quick and dirty on the reverse stock split and a regular stock split. You know, the good thing about a stock split also is that you know you'll have if the company that you have that did a stock split and it goes back up and it keeps going up, well, now you have twice the amount of shares for each value going up. Okay. All right. So if you guys have any questions, leave a comment below. Hopefully, it was a good video for you and it made sense.